Tap for sound. What's it got a tap? I don't know what that's about.
There we are.
Good morning. Welcome to Whimsical Wednesdays. We have Nikki Jacobs on here today. Something a little bit different, and I'll just read a little bit of her bio that she sent to me. No, for anyone who doesn't know her, but Nikki is out there. She's doing some great stuff. Nikki Jacobs is a psychic medium who's experienced a plethora of paranormal, has experienced and used higher consciousness abilities, has had extensive experiences with spirit angels, hierarchies, the Fae, Sasquatch, where on one occasion Nikki has worked with a specific Washington state Sasquatch clan and certain individual Sasquatch in the state of California. She has worked on different teams of other psychics, energy workers, and astral travelers, and was a member of the UFO I team from 2018-2020. I could read more and more, but Nikki, take it away.
Take it away. Yeah, I've done a wide range of different things. Yeah, exactly.
It's my
I've done a
showing.
wide. Yeah, I've done
Yeah.
a lot of different things over the course of time, but I'm a lifelong
Yeah.
ET abductee. Participant in the GATE program, which led into MK Ultra torture techniques, which all of that led into my labs, which led into SSP. So there's a wide, while having a regular life,
Yeah.
there's a wide range of subjects and topics to really get into and delve into. So hit me up, girl. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, we both have that in common, right? We're both psychic mediums, and we work on that multi-layered, multi-dimensional realm that we can say that a lot of people in this reality don't. They kind of have one layer that they work with and they want to be in, and then they might go into the dream state, so that's another different sort of layer. But most people are sort of operating in that. But for us, it's multidimensional. And do you feel like, as I'm saying that, that more and more people will come online in the future and have that multidimensional real sort of consciousness? Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that they will, but I think it's going to take a lot more things to be taking place for it to happen. What I do know from what I've been psychically shown is that for some, it's going to, when they kind of, as you called it, coming online, so to speak, when they become more aware, I think for them, it's going to be harder because they will be, I don't know why or how, not why, I don't know how quite to explain what I psychically saw, but what I was shown was that it's going to be much harder for those folks who do it in a much more delayed fashion, whereas those of us who've been awake for a long time, or for those who are just now starting to quote unquote wake up, as the saying is now being, or now what it's being called, so the ones that do it much farther down the road in a number of years, I think, based on what I was shown, they're going to have more of a difficult time.
Yeah, right.
And
the coin the term psionics, is that what you were thinking? That psionics is being used as a word instead of like it's moving away from psychic medium and into sort of a more wider scope of like psionics that comes under so many different brackets.
And really does.
Yeah.
It really, really does. And it gets almost convoluted because there's so many different terms for everything that you and I do, or for anyone else that does, and yet, what we describe is
very natural.
Yeah, it's very natural, but it's also very intense at the same time, or it can be for those that are not used to it. And for those of us that are used to it, that have grown up in it, like you and I, it's different ball game, whereas somebody who, say, they're in their teenage years between, say, 13 and 17, and it hits them then, versus when, like you and I, are born into it, or versus somebody who's in their 20s and 30s or 40s and it starts popping up. So it's very different.
And then they can go into like they've coined the term spiritual awakening, right? But for some people, it can be like a Kundalini awakening that can be,
something triggers it.
Yeah, but it's like really like almost psychosis. You hear of people that have a massive spiritual awakening. Maybe they've done DMT, or they've done some substances or something like that. And or they're doing some sort of spiritual practice where they're meditating or doing yoga continuously, and it's like all their chakras come online, and it's like some people say it's like a double-edged sword. So it's like, whoa, okay, all of this all at once, like, and then you've got to integrate that. So how do people integrate that? I mean, I personally, maybe you can think about this or maybe you have a few things to speak about on this, but I had a few different spiritual awakenings along the way as well, even though I did have or have always had the ability to talk and as a medium to talk with the spirit world, right? But I still had to live in this reality. But I still, along the way, had the spiritual awakening slowly as I got older and older. I didn't really understand it completely as I got more mature. I was like, that happened then. But while it's happening, you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's all very confusing, right? You can probably talk about that.
I can talk about that because when I was 16, I had a girlfriend in high school who I was having such horrible migraines, and they were stress-induced, and a combination. Now I understand they were not just only stress-induced, there were a number of other factors involved with them. And I had, when I was a freshman, I had she had to have been, I think she was 17. I had a girlfriend, so two different girlfriends, one when I was a freshman and then one when I was 16, 17 years old. And two individuals, but the one when I was a freshman in high school, her father was in military, and they had just returned to the States from Japan, where he had been stationed for quite some time. So she was a military, quote unquote, a military kid. I was going to use a different term. And she's been all over the globe, in numerous different kinds of educational systems across the planet, because of her dad being in military. And when she and I met, she's like, Nikki, have you ever heard of pressure points? And so she used to work on my hand. Now, the reason I'm mentioning her is because she helped me to open up in a way that I don't even know if she's still alive. I haven't even looked, but she was phenomenal. This young woman she was phenomenal in her energy and in what she knew. I mean, she really shouldn't even have been in high school at the time. She should have graduated, but that's a different subject. And then when I was 16, 17, I was still having those migraines. I was still using the techniques that I had learned when I was a freshman from that young lady. And the other young lady that I knew that became a close friend of mine, she taught me forms of kind of like binaural beats that I didn't understand were binaural beats. She also taught me different things of going into the mind. I don't remember what that biofeedback, going into the mind. Thank you, Mom. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word, and she literally popped it into my head.
Thanks,
so, I appreciate that, Mom. Anyway, so she helped me with getting into a meditative state, and she was a psychic herself. She came from a line of family psychics, and so, or at least that's my opinion, based on
let's talk
remembering
about
her mom
that,
and stuff. So basically, she taught me how to get into my head and calm my mind. And it
Ah,
literally helped decrease the intensity of the migraines. And that
oh,
opened me up even further.
right.
So even though I'd been seeing uh, spirits from the time I was a little kid, um, you know, thinking that they're in period costume. And no,
Yeah.
they're not. They're spirits. Hello. So, and I
Yeah, I've
didn't know
had
that
that
back
too.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
didn't know
I
that
would
back then.
I used to go into a house, or we live in different farms. You know, I'm sure you've heard
Yeah,
about my background growing up in a
yeah, yeah,
cult. So we had to travel
yeah.
around Australia and stop on these different farms, and some of them were really old. And then the whole place, for me, I'd always see this. I'd literally see the whole room go back in time. And then I'd see the
Hmm.
people in period costumes. And I remember
Wow.
someone standing there playing the violin. And I was
Hmm.
like, violin, violin, I
Hmm.
was trying to say. Like, there's someone standing there playing violin. I remember these little things growing up, just going back to what you were saying before, like, do
Yeah.
you think it passes down in DNA? Because my father was a medium,
Yes.
natural medium as well, and so,
Yeah.
so was my mother. So I had both sides.
Hmm.
It's inevitable that it will pass down, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not always the case. It's not always the
No, like
case.
like with my mom, it skipped a generation.
Yeah,
So,
right. Okay.
so my grandmother, my mom had some, I believe, but uh, it was instinctual. That's how she would classify it. But my grandmother, however, my grandmother was a psychic, and she was the one when I was between 5 and 7 years old who told me, "Shh, Nicole, we don't talk about those things. They'll put us in the
Ah,
crazy house." Well, that
yeah,
was my first experience because
yeah,
that's what she had experienced with other people who I think she knew what was really going on with them. And I think her mother, now my
yeah,
cousins may be throwing a hissy fit over me saying this, but because they're the one that I'm going to talk about is also their great grandmother, because hello, all cousins. So, and we've got a number of
yeah.
siblings. So you've got my mom, my grandmother, and then my great grandmother. And I believe, based on the things that my mom used to tell me growing up throughout my entire life, I believe my great grandmother had psychic abilities. Now, she was in a very religious, very domineering marriage, and it was very detrimental, as I have been consistently told throughout my life. And that's the politest, kindest way I can describe it. So I
And
can
I
see
can't
why
imagine
they
that
would
they had,
shut down.
sorry, yeah, I can't imagine if there'd be any room for her to explore that, being in a dominant marriage in a religious
No, there's no way.
situation. There's a
There's no
word
way.
that one of my half brothers, he says he's actually a born again Christian. It's,
Hmm.
there's no, I'm not making any judgment on any religions at all. I actually really appreciate some people who are really spiritual and call themselves religious and who are very kind to me. And we appreciate,
Hmm.
we have mutual
Yeah.
respect for each other,
Yeah.
right? But they have a different word for psychics. So we have the
Oh, yeah.
ability of prophecy. So we put into that
Yeah.
bracket. So my brother, he would say that we have the ability of prophecy. So that's in their
Yeah.
terms. So, fair
Yeah.
enough. Just wanted to
Prophesying. Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to shout out to Terry and John in the message, they're in the comments. Hi guys, thanks for turning up. I haven't let anyone know that we're doing this. It's just off the cuff, me and Nikki having conversations, and
I
which
put
I
it
think
on
is,
just
yeah,
before on my Facebook page.
yeah.
I was like, "Oh my
Oh,
God, we
great.
gotta post this." So hopefully,
And I think it's important now, if any, to have these conversations, because I think
yes, it
as the
is.
light is coming to this planet, as the consciousness of the
Oh
earth
gosh, yeah,
is lifting, so are individuals, right? So I feel like we were
yeah,
talking earlier that people, especially the younger ones coming in now, are online. A lot of them have abilities, but trying
yeah.
to sort of manage being in this reality, I can't imagine that would be quite easy for them, because it's so tumultuous now with all the light coming here. It's bringing up all the dark and the corruption for people to see. So we
Mhm.
kind of those first wave kids, psychic,
Yeah.
all the our abilities used. We can go into the MK Ultra and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
I do believe sometimes people think that, oh, that's why you've got the abilities that you do is because of the MK Ultra experiences as children. It's
No.
like, no, the reason why we were already like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good, what's your thoughts on that? What I just said,
I think
Yeah.
that I think that we are born with these innate abilities, and
Yeah.
we, uh, depending upon which section of, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, which section of society we were raised in and what country we were
Yeah.
raised in, because
Yeah.
that makes a major difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You add all of that together, and psychic abilities in the general grand scheme of things across the globe are not widely accepted. They are
No.
minimized, and it makes it very difficult. So
Yeah.
if you have a set of parents who are willing to be open about it and
Yeah.
encourage that, that's a big deal. That's a really, really big
Yeah.
deal. They're accepting of it. They, well, let's continue with a little bit of this, or try a little bit of education with that. They're open. That's a big deal. A lot of
Yeah.
people become very afraid of it, and that is because of how society is. That's in general, but not all sections of society are like that. But the mass, uh, the en masse public is very much that way. So, which is why it's so difficult when, as we're ET abductees, it's so very
Yeah.
difficult to deal with that as a subject, because it's so
Yeah.
foreign to everybody, just as psychic mediums are foreign, but yet at the same time, we're more accepted that way than we are as ET abductees. So
Yeah.
there's different levels
Yeah.
of society, with the exception and the psychology, and but we are, and it's something that we talked about really over the course of the last 7 days, a lot about higher consciousness and our abilities with higher consciousness. And when we have a bit of more of an open mind, instead of closing everything off so much, we
Yeah.
have a tendency to look more at other things as a potential possibility. And then when we delve into it or go down the deep rabbit hole, we're like, oh, so you have to consistently educate or re-educate yourself in order to deal with these, because of how we are taught throughout humanity, throughout humanity's life. And it's because
Yeah.
it scares people. Because it scares people, it
Mm.
becomes woo woo to a level that, because many don't understand it, and because they
Yeah.
don't understand it, they fearmonger it.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that's I've just put up Terry's point of view here on the comments. The religious system, the education
Yes.
system, and the medical system can be used to dampen diminishes a person's, and he's written, abilities, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Missy. Missy's in the chat too. Well, I think that's absolutely true. It's the fear of the unknown. But why
Yeah.
did it become? Why did it become the unknown? If we look back through, is basically comes down to history. Look what they did in the
Yep.
12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, for what the last 1,000 years at least, and even goes further, 2,000
Oh, it goes
years
much further. Yeah.
of absolutely you're hunted and burnt and killed and
Yep.
tortured for these abilities, specifically
Yep.
women, because we become a threat because we have knowledge that's very
Yep.
natural to us. And I feel like it's very natural to human beings, right? It will continue that we
Yes.
have children and our children's children's children who will have these innate abilities, and instead of like nurturing, as you say, you come in,
Excuse
you've
me.
got wonderful parents. You want to hope that you have these,
Yeah.
encouraging parents. they'll bring you up and accept the abilities, but most are scared. So they diminish and stop it. And like your great grandmother and definitely my grandparents as well, I can even say the same. It was like crazy. You don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I'm just a weirdo. Like they don't understand it, so you kind of put into the unknown box yourself, like
Yep.
and put away. So yeah, yeah.
It
Where do we
makes it
go?
really makes a difference.
Yeah, and especially when you've got institutions in place who want to have control of the knowledge, and
Yes.
you
Yeah.
have to go through that priest or that person to gain access to
Hmm.
God. And if people are actually individually channeling, connecting to the spirit world, the fae, the other dimensions, of
They're
course
already
it's going to be a
connecting.
yeah, that's a threat. That's a threat in itself, right? How do we
Yep.
change this? I think it's education. I think it's shows like this. Uh, you
Hmm.
know. Oh,
It is. It's talking
yeah,
openly about it and making it out in the public, to where into the public domain, into the public arena, whatever you want to call that. And
yeah,
when you do that, it helps for those who are curious, it helps them. And that's a big
yeah,
deal, because really that's what we're trying to help humanity in multiple different levels, in multiple different ways. So,
yeah. So Natalie's just written, I once dated a guy who was Greek Orthodox and he made me get rid of all my oracle cards and books and pretty much banned me from anything related. That happened to me once. I was dating a guy, I was like 19 or 20. It was like my first boyfriend. And he was talking to JWs. I don't even know if we can say Jehovah's. They were knocking on the door. He'd invite them in. I'm like, what are you doing? So then they told me that my crystals, my astrology, poster on the wall was all demonic and evil, and I had to throw it out. And I actually threw them out. I said, this is ridiculous, get out of my house. But he invited them in. I don't know. Yeah, there seems to be a thing there, but it seems to be the sort of, it's a male and female thing as well,
yeah.
like that fear of the feminine, unknown powers, and we get put
And
into that.
energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ugly witch
Pigeonholed.
is going to come and steal the
Yeah.
children. It's in our fairy tales and our folk tales as well. The
Yes, it
apple, the
is.
poison apple, and the old lady. And it's a general society as well. So when
Hmm.
you're discarded as you become older as well. So you've got the infant, maiden, crone, as they say,
Yep.
the trilogy, right? And the crone is discarded. The crone holds so much wisdom and so much knowledge as
Hmm.
you get older, but generally, if you look at older women, they're the most homeless actually in
Hmm.
Australia, over 55. Most homeless are women. Did you know that? Oh my God. So it's generally reflecting that how society dismisses and diminishes the wisdom and puts beauty up on a pedestal, right? We just looked at as
Hmm.
objectified. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all of it,
Yeah,
really.
humans, we
Yeah.
really we're a detriment to our own self in a lot of ways. But when you fight that and you fight the system, so to speak, just simply because you're asking questions,
Yeah.
that's fighting the system, and
Yeah.
asking questions is not liked nor wanted in controlled situations. So it's not I literally heard the words, it's not encouraged, end quote. Um,
Yeah.
so when you've got that kind of thing going on, and it's been going on for 100 years or 200, 300, or even 1,000 years,
2000.
yeah, it
Yeah.
goes much deeper, and it penetrates in a much more way, and it's very derogatory. But the positive
Yeah.
is that when you allow yourself to question, when
Yeah.
you start looking into things, and one of my very well-known quotes is, do your own research. Well, I say it that way because so many people in the last 5 years, really hardcore, the last 5 years, have not been doing that. And when they start opening up, it
Yeah.
becomes a mind bender for them. They're like, oh my God, I didn't know. And then they start into another rabbit hole. Well, what you're doing is you're re-educating yourself on how the controlled system is working and operating, and you're breaking that cycle within yourself. And when you break that cycle within yourself, you're also helping to release that for the coming generations, but you're also releasing it for the past generations in your family dynamics. Because it becomes, when you break it, it literally becomes in your genes. It's a scientific fact regarding the genetics, how they affect different subject matters. For example, oh God, I just had a conversation with somebody the other day about this very subject regarding different animals where it's an innate nature for them to travel it literally becomes in our genes.
It's that whole nature versus nurture. Yeah. So
yes. Yeah.
It's the epigenetics, right? So DNA holds memory, and our environment can affect us. So if we've got trauma in the genes and continuous trauma, it affects, your abilities.
Yes, it does. Very much so.
Yeah.
It becomes
increase them, actually. Yeah. What it does is it fractures the mind, and then you become like this open portal. That's been in my experience in the past. But the abilities were always there. It's important, as you know, as a psychic medium, is to have boundaries, right? And this is what we learn when you ever do like psychic development or have mentored people yourself. One of the biggest things is like, okay, I've opened up now. This is why people get so fearful. It's like, I've opened up, I've done my meditation, but I'm seeing everything. It's like, okay, you have to learn to be open, be able to be open, right, and then close it down. That's one of the biggest things that I notice. And if you've known other mediums as well, they don't. I've known some mediums who are just open all the time. I don't know how they do it. How are they getting to sleep? How are they not having earthbound spirits follow them everywhere? And, what are you doing? Just constantly talking to them? I tell people, especially when I've mentored children, it's like the boundaries, learning that bubble. Like the children, I use the rainbow bubble and pressing the belly button, right? I'm not always having to be on all the time. I'm certainly not on. When people ask me before sessions, like, you're picking up this about me, and I'm like, I'm not on. I'm not online. I'm not going to be doing that. I've got this. You have to have boundaries, otherwise it's too much.
Yes.
You become overloaded. Yeah. So
I used to have when I'd go to bed at night, there would be a group, because you're in a different state. When you're that tired and you're climbing into bed, and you're hearing them because you're at a different, even though you've got the boundaries.
Yeah.
And you're hearing them because you're in a different state, and your barrier can sometimes, not always, but diminish a little bit, and you can really hear them. I used to have anywhere from 5 to 15, 16, 17 spirits standing around the head of my bed having a nice little chat party while I'm trying to go to sleep. And I'm like,
I've had the same thing. Yeah.
You need to shut the bleepity bleep up. I'm trying to sleep, guys. Take your party elsewhere. Well, we want to talk to you. I'm going to sleep. Leave me alone. I need to. And you set your boundaries with them. It got to the point to where I literally put up notices on my walls in my bedroom. If I'm asleep, don't bug me. Don't bother me. When I'm awake, you can come and talk to me.
Yeah,
but there are boundaries. There are boundaries. And they have to see it as well as feel it. So if they're reading it, if they're coming into your environment, they can read. I mean, unless you got somebody who's never learned how to do that, it's a different story. But they can feel your energy when you're, and Many times
They
I'll
can.
say I'm not doing. Yeah, many times even on live shows I'll say I'm not on tonight. I'm not doing psychic stuff tonight.
Yeah,
And then all of
that's
a
right.
sudden one of my guides will come through and say, "No, Nikki, this is important. You got to." And I'm like, "Oh man, all right." So then I'm on. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not really a shut off or a shut on. It's just it's an energy that we do that can I don't allow it in. I don't know how else to
Yeah,
explain it.
open or we're both mediums, so we understand it.
Yeah,
Open or close it,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I had exactly the same situation when I was doing mediumship at an expo. I'd have like the relatives come in of the person I was going to see the next day, one of the people. So I had all these Italian. She was Italian. I had all these
Hmm.
Italian men. Other way. I want to talk to her. No, I want to talk to her. Like they're trying to like vie for talking. And I said,
Yeah,
"Who is
I used
this?
to have that.
Who is this?" I said, "No." I said, "Who are you?" And I said, "You're going to see." It was their granddaughter, right, or and
Hmm.
niece. The next day, she had so many relatives, all male, all Italian, like 8 of them. And I said, "Okay, thanks for telling you. I'm going to see your niece tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow, not now. Okay, hold on to it. I don't want to hear anything out the door. I'm trying to get to sleep." So that's the
Hmm.
boundaries. Not now. But the thing is, I think where people get sort of the issue that happens or hung up on certain things is when they're first developing, right? They get really
Yes.
curious about their abilities, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity. So you might be saying, no, 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 but you'd be like really curious. So then you get involved in the conversation
Yep.
with the Italian grandfather hearing, okay, tell me a bit
Yes.
more about what's going on tomorrow. Then forget it. You're not going to get sleep all night. You're going to have to sit there writing an essay for the
Oh,
person the
no
next
kidding.
day.
Yeah,
You know
a
what I mean?
book.
Yeah,
Not
a
just an
book.
essay, a book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
because you got to get it
uh,
all written down. Either if you can't physically write it, you better be at
yeah,
a computer and typing like crazy, or get a
yeah.
phone and start recording your what you're talking about. Oh my gosh, yeah. Hey, Wizard Witkiss, how you doing, hon?
Yeah, there's quite a few here. At
Yeah,
times when
that's
I'm in
awesome.
that heart, this is a few people have said about being in the in-between state, especially when you're
Yeah,
about to drift off to sleep. That's when you know
yeah,
when you can hear clairaudiently. I hear them.
yes.
Um, I can get a lot of information for my personal self if I'm in that in-between stage. If I've got my
Mm-hmm.
guides there and they'll give me some information, I'll try and retain it because it's helpful in
Yeah,
my life.
yeah,
Yeah, so he
same.
says when I'm awake half asleep, just before drift off, I find myself in a pod, someplace hooked up to a system. That's interesting. That's a multi-dimensional reality. That's more galactic,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. So we can go into that because, you've
Wow,
got
that's
the
interesting.
we've got the kind of galactic experience as mediums as well. Whereas
Yeah,
some
yeah.
mediums will not go there, especially in
No,
I
they
don't know if you
won't.
have you studied spiritualism? That's where a lot of people learn to do platform and talk. I've been to quite a few spiritualist places, right? And a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
rules there is that we only talk to passed on loved ones. We don't talk to guides. We don't certainly talk to beings from outside of this dimension. There's like rules around it, and I understand
Yeah, there
why
are.
it's there.
I don't
So
adhere to that, but I
yeah,
I used to get a yeah, I used to hear some of that. I was going to say a lot, but no, I used to hear some of that when I was in the 1990s and early 2000s, and yeah, I was
yeah,
like, you learn a
yeah,
lot. I mean,
yeah,
it's because of me being open enough and willing enough, but being very careful at the same time.
yeah,
Um, I've dealt with hierarchy, what I call hierarchy royalty beings, down to fallen angels, to two specific fallen angels, but anyway, and down through the different levels into the Fae, into the different, uh, so many different hierarchies that we do not realize how many there actually are. For example, in numerous different realms, there are what I call, because I don't know what else to call them, they are kings
Yeah.
and queens of their, so like when I talk to the king of the Fae, I mean, he was the king of the entire flippin' realm of the Fae, of every section going down, and he was the head honcho. And I'm like, when you have unexpectedly in your home, because you're on a work schedule, because I was on a work situation at that time for energy work, and was working with somebody, another human at the time, and all of a sudden we had to
Yeah.
have the hierarchies come into my home. When I demanded that, I had no idea what I was doing. It was my major mistake. I mean, I didn't think it was my entire.
Yeah.
They filled my entire apartment, which was 900, I think
Yeah.
980 square feet or something like that.
Yeah.
But there were so many of them and so compacted that
Yeah.
they emitted throughout the entire apartment building.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they left, because when they entered, I felt the energy of coming, and it was like, whoa, that's.
Does it
I'm
hear
like,
that? I've had the same
oh,
thing.
but
Does it
hang
feel
on.
really hot? Yeah.
Yes, when they
Yeah.
left, it was the loudest popping sound you can handle in your ears. And it was intense because not only did I hear it, I felt it throughout my body. So when they all said, okay, do we have to be here now? And I'm like, no, we're done. Thank you so much for everybody coming. There were
Yeah.
thousands. Chloe,
Yeah.
there were thousands. And when they were popping out of their portal, because they open a portal and then they go and they leave. Well, when they open the portal, that's when when they close the portal, that's a whole body sensation feeling and
Yeah.
intense. Whoa. I was so overloaded. I had no idea. And now I know not to ever do that again. You call on specific hierarchies.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it just it it was a wild ride that night, and it took me, I think, about 2 weeks to come down from, I mean, energetically to come down from that. I
Yeah.
couldn't sleep. It created a whole section of stuff. So when we are dealing with the other side, you're not just dealing with the other side per se, you're also dealing with the different hierarchies that control those different realms. And
Yeah.
that I can't even begin to tell you how big of a that is, like a mind poof. It blows your mind when you start thinking
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff.
Well,
But
I've had a similar experience with a room getting filled, but it was with galactics, and
oh
it was
yeah,
around when I was developing, and I developed my own style of healing with my soul sessions. But I was getting this sacred geometry, and I was getting a whole bunch of
yep,
codes coming in, and I was writing them down, and then I had all these beings in my healing room, and the
mm-hmm,
room just filled up, and they were just curious about the first person on the earth to get these codes. And they were like, oh, look, she's getting them, she's writing them down, and I could hear them. And I was like, everybody. And I said, I've got an audience, and I said, welcome
yep,
to everyone. And
yep,
they were like, oh, 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 she hears us. It was all a bit
yep.
backwards. but yeah,
It's a
that
mind
was
trip.
yeah, it was positive. But like, I
Yeah,
think that's the main thing is you mentioned feeling before, right? So our
yeah,
felt sense, most people, if they're a medium or not, just human being, right? The first
mm-hmm,
intuition is usually felt sense, right? You know, that's
mm-hmm, yeah,
clairsentience.
yeah,
So you'll feel whether something feels interesting, positive, or you'll feel whether,
mm-hmm,
oh, there's some
exactly.
sort of nefarious purposes here. And it's a form of telepathy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it is.
energy, it's a feeling, you know. You have to, that's your
It's a frequency.
that's your key. That's gonna
Yeah.
help you. Do not proceed if you feel a doom feeling, very bad
Mhm.
feeling, you could get in
Yeah,
trouble here, you know?
get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got
Yeah.
that kind of a sensation and it's a doom feeling or something along those lines, negative, man, out. tell them to get the heck out because they have no business there talking to you. And you got to watch out too, because some of them are well versed in covert, in other words, cloaking themselves so to be something positive. So you got to be careful. I was very fortunate with my guides, and at the time with my guides and a couple of other hierarchy royalty who I guess I didn't know at the time came in and were kind of corralling everybody, let's say. So I got very fortunate. I wouldn't recommend that normally.
And Natalie mentioned before, I had the comment up before, I used to sit in circle to learn from a lady who did that. She ended up kicking me out though. So that's the thing with the spiritualism, right? They'll have circles and it's like the rules are to only talk to the afterlife. So if you start talking about galactics or any other beings outside of that, it's a big fat no-no to them. But I found out that spiritualism was actually started by the Freemasons. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
And that's why they have, that's why I did some
interesting.
research. Yeah. I watched, you know, that, is it Peter, not Peter, Jordan Maxwell? Oh, he talked all about the structures of the Illuminati, you know. And so I ended up seeing a show and it was on that. And I was like, oh my God, that makes sense. Because the thing is, spiritualism was started around that 1910, 1920 era, right? When everyone was doing seances, right? That was really coming in because of the First World War. A lot of women and families had lost their sons to the war. So there was a massive gap there, and people were grieving. It was like, how are we going to connect? So spiritualism came forth, right? But they had to control it in some way. So it was only, so they said, fine, this is fine. The population is wanting this, so we'll provide spiritualism and seances as a church so we can control it. We can't control it, but we have to control it in some way. So that's why you'll get the you can only talk to the afterlife and not talk to any other.
Yeah. While you were talking, I literally was shown the Chicago fire back in whatever year that was, and literally heard the word spiritualism. I'm like, oh man, okay.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Yeah. Something new I didn't know.
I had they're not always ethical too. Like Natalie's also just mentioned. No. She's went and
exactly.
So you'll get a lot. I mean, I've actually been to quite a few circles, and I've had teachers who are completely egoic, unethical. Usually they find me a threat because they're like, oh, she shouldn't know so much, you know, you're a natural. I always get told, oh, you're a natural psychic, or I've been called a natural witch, whatever they want to put me in, like, you know,
white witch, natural witch. Yeah.
Like I'm just a person, a human being. Everyone wants to put you into a box, you know.
I'll play heretic is the one I get a lot.
Heretic? Gosh,
I get heretic a lot. I have gotten almost all my life I have been told I was a heretic. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? When I was a kid, I didn't understand what the heck that meant. It wasn't until much later in my teenage years I started understanding what that meant, and I'm like, but I'm not. At that time, I was like, I'm not religious. I'm not affiliated with anybody. Yeah. So I was trying to understand that. And then when I eventually did get into the church in the 1990s, I had certain very specific individuals would I'm trying to word this to where I don't get into trouble.
Thank you.
In certain ways. Or you. And so I was trying to understand, and they would come to me and say, do you understand you're a heretic? And I'm like,
it's a bit much. It's a bit judgmental, don't you feel?
Wow. Okay. So why are you classifying me as a heretic? And so that would work into a bunch of different other subject matters. And it didn't go over too well. But yeah, I get it. I mean, when I say I've been called everything under the sun in derogatory names, it is for entertainment purposes only.
Terry's reminding us it is entertainment.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That it is for entertainment purposes, because I mean, you know, you get into all of this and it gets really convoluted
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and you're just trying to explain your own experiences, and some people can't handle it. So, then that's why we have to say things like this.
It's
Entertainment
conforming,
purposes.
isn't it? Social
Yeah,
conforming. Yeah.
you're expected to socially conform, and if you do not
Yeah.
conform, then you're part of the problem. And
Yeah.
that's hard to handle. That's really hard to handle. And now
It
I'm at a point in
is.
my life where I don't give a diddly boo
Yes.
what people think of me anymore. They're going to think whatever they want to think of me. I used to
That's
have
right.
this opinion of, oh my god, it's this way and it's that way, and oh, I can't say this and I can't say that, and and it was just like I was so in a ball. And I wouldn't call it a bubble. It would be like I don't know.
You
I did
contort
care what
to
people.
fit in. It's got you
Yeah, I was
contorting to fit in. Yeah.
yes, and it was so not me. And then I started in 2007. I started going, no, I'm going to do what I feel is in the best interest of family and the best interest of me, and we're
Yeah.
going to see how this works. And I paid for it with my back injury in 2008. And
Right.
by 2010, my life incredibly changed in a major way, which I don't talk about hardly ever. And it went from there to where I started learning and growing even more.
Yeah.
And I had a dear friend long before that, but I had a dear friend who said, Nikki, you need to look into dot, 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 dot. And I went, what the heck? This is a guy I knew. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? And the things he told me, I honestly, I thought he was just blowing smoke, but yet I knew better. And it was because I wasn't ready to accept the information that he had. And I have since been validated, or he has been validated, because he's now on the other side, to where all of the information that he told me, every bit of it was mad truth. It was all true. Every bit of the information he told me, and I was just like, so when 2017, 2018 rolls around, and I'm
Yeah.
in 2018, I'm in the UFOI team, because by 2017 I was opening things up and going, okay, I'm going to make myself public with my medical
Yeah.
team. This isn't going to go over well, but we're going to see.
Yeah.
And I had one doctor going, thinking I was schizophrenic. He was
Oh
a
yeah.
surgeon,
I
and
had
I'm
that.
like, no. So I then told him information that there was no way that I could have known, and he was like, oh. Oh, I mean, it was like he had a family member who was standing there in his office
Yeah.
while he and I were sitting down talking, and because he was like, oh my God, when did this happen when you were like 12, 13, 11, 12, 13? I'm like, no, I've been like this my entire life since I've been in the cradle. And so
Yeah.
when I told him this information, he was like, you really are a psychic medium. How did you know that? You must have looked me up online. I'm like, no, I didn't even know your name until a day ago. And I've been so focused on getting here and getting things ready to get here because of this conversation about surgery and my personal health. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, because you guys have cared for me for, I don't know how many years. It was like 4 years or 5 years or something.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to actually talk about it. So
Yeah.
by 2018, when I ended up meeting a certain individual with the
Yeah.
UFOI team and getting into that, that's really when I went, you know what? We're going public. I'm really going to make
Yeah.
this public. And after that, my whole life just exploded. It just,
Yeah.
and by 2019, it massively exploded into extraterrestrial. The memories, they all started coming back. Then being catching the ETs, bringing me back from an abduction, actually catching them in the act of putting me back into bed, um,
Yeah.
going through walls, and then going, oh my God, this stuff is really real. Oh my God. And, you're trying to
Yeah.
deal with the fact that you no longer give two diddly-watts of what people think about you,
Yeah.
whether you're a psychic medium, whether you're an ET abductee. And the things that I described to other people, they were like, Nikki, that sounds like my labs. Well, what the heck is a my lab?
Yeah. I had to
And then
find
I,
all
I
of that
talked,
out as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
same thing. And
Yeah.
then when somebody said, I know you, and I'm like, I don't know you. I don't recognize you. I don't even recognize your something. Well, okay, maybe I sort of recognize your voice, but maybe not really. And then they say something later on, and I'm like having triggers, wave after wave after wave of SSP triggers, what I now know are SSP
Yeah.
triggers, and memories, flashback memories. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm describing them to other people, and they're going, Nikki, that's SSP. Well, what the heck is SSP?
Yeah.
So it's been quite a process when we go through
Yeah.
these things, and you finally get to a stage where you don't care what other people think of you anymore, because they're going to think whatever they're going to think. And it's the same way with religion. It's the same way with energy work, frequencies, all the things that are going on now across this planet. People are going to think what they're going to want to think.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can individually can control. That you can only control you, yourself, and your specific environment, if you're fortunate to be able to do that. Some people aren't able to do that. So I mean, this going through all of these things, it's an
Yeah.
eye opener. I mean, when I say an eye opener, and sometimes a mind bender, and
It is.
sometimes you can't really grapple with, like I had an extraterrestrial tell me, he was a shapeshifter, and he told me that at that time they lived to 2,500 years old. Blew my mind. And when I
Yeah.
asked him how old he was, he said, well, right now I'm 1,500. And I'm like, yeah, what? So
Yeah. Our time space. Yeah.
yeah, it's completely different. And
Yeah.
so when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, you grow with it. You learn about it, you grow with it, and you keep your mind open. And it's and the things that we start realizing, things like you and I have started realizing or have known, is
Yeah.
that this planet is so seriously controlled by the
Yeah.
governments and by the fear factor of
Definitely.
abilities
Yeah.
of, and they fearmonger about it. And
And
like what we talked about in the beginning, it goes back hundreds of years to 1,000 years to 2,000 years. I mean, it keeps going back in the generations. And when
yeah.
we individually break that cycle for ourselves, we will, and if we have children, it will help with the genetics and going through and breaking that cycle for them. If we're allowed to teach our kids, depending upon what kind of control you've got in
Well,
the
we're
dynamics
living
with
with
relationships.
that's right. Well, we're living with the legacy of thousands of years of
Yes. Yeah.
indoctrination. So we are,
We
what
have
year?
to create an, we have to,
2026, and
yeah.
we're still dealing with the repercussions of the witch burnings now
Yeah.
in this day and age. And not only that, like women pathologized and called histrionic, hysteria, you would is like
Yeah.
an issue with some made up thing where you have an issue with the womb, and then you get put into a psychiatric institution. So I think my grandmother on in the New Zealand side, on my father's side of the family, was diagnosed with schizophrenia. But then other parts of the family, because there's Maori on that side, so it was seen as cultural, they called it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as in like it was an accepted that she was able to hear and see into the spirit world.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that, but she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So anyone who's come across a medical establishment or psychology or
Yeah.
psychiatry, they're so indoctrinated they can't think
Yeah.
outside of that box. That what are you talking mediumship? So they don't teach it. They don't talk about it. It's completely dismissed as a reality.
Yep.
Meanwhile, there's people, the population knows that you can go to a medium and book them and talk to your passed on loved one. But at the same time, the medical establishment, if you start hearing or spirit,
Yep.
you're put into schizophrenia box. There you go, and
Yep.
medicated. There's a lot of
Yep.
shamans. There's a lot of shamans in the mental hospitals. So that's horrible.
Hmm.
But there's no place for shamanic practitioners, even, or psychic mediums. There are some places, but it's still quite controlled, like we said, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. And we basically have to create a new legacy.
Yeah.
That's essentially what you and I are doing. We're creating a new legacy for other
Yeah.
generations. And we have to
That's right.
continue to do that in order to change the dynamics, in order to
Yeah.
change the energy and the frequency. And it's not something that we really think about per se, but it's something that is important uh, to put energy towards.
It's breaking the paradigms. We're
Yes,
paradigm
it is.
breakers. Yeah. So we're knocking the walls down. This is what I picked up on when I said to you in the beginning, this is an important conversation because it will help the
Yeah.
next generations coming in, the
Yes.
generations that are here already,
Yes.
the kids that are around 10, 11, 12, even the babies that are coming in now. I walk through the shopping
Yes.
center and vroom, the little babies look at me straight away and they're looking at my aura and they're like, oh, they're telepathing with me, by the
Yes.
way. If
Yeah.
you had that, the little baby's telepathing with you and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, welcome in my mind. Welcome to the planet. It's not easy here. They're like, yeah, it's really difficult. It's density. I said, just make sure you put that light around you. Everything will be okay. That's my
Yeah.
two-way conversations with the babies and the children, that they can see your aura. They know that they can
Yes, they
see what
do.
you're about straight away. I actually never have that conversation. And here I'm having it publicly. Like, it's
Hmm.
true, right? You have the kid, you can see the young ones coming in here now. They're all psychics, they're all telepaths.
Yeah, they are.
Fantastic,
It's
right?
because they're
Yeah,
here to break the cycle.
yeah,
You get that many kids coming in to the system that is going on now, they are
yeah,
here to break the cycle of what's taking
yeah,
place because and that's why things are getting so wonky in the younger generations. So
right.
they're seeing so many different things. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do it a different way. And it's like, wow, okay.
And at the
You
same
know,
time, right,
it gets
they're
interesting.
hitting them quite hard with the indoctrination, right?
Yes,
You've
they
got all
are.
your
The frequencies, the
LGBTQ
everything.
plus. You've
Yeah.
got the whole woke,
Yep.
thing we can go
All of
into.
it gets really wonky
All of
really
it.
fast.
And it's really quite sad how they're really hitting them. We can go into there's a whole can of worms in regards to,
Yeah,
like,
there really is.
making them confused about their gender,
Yeah.
and then pulling them into the, pharmacological interventions and body dysmorphia, all of that. But at the same time, I've thought, because I've wondered about that, and I thought maybe it's like bringing in a new tolerance, or more of a spectrum of what is acceptable in regards to masculine and feminine, and a lot of them are coming from different planets. I don't know. There's a
Hmm.
thought about that as well. It's like, yes, you've got the
Yeah.
control mechanism, but are these kids naturally sort of, not gender fluid? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Hmm. I get it, but I don't know how to speak on what I want to say. So that's where
Oh, really?
I keep yeah,
we can
that's
use
because
we can use
I
code
can't,
words.
that's one of those things that I can't
Yeah.
seem to, I know what I want to say, but I can't. This is my dyslexia kicking in,
Right.
and that's because of targeting. Because I would have had the words and not. I don't now.
I feel
So
like a bit
yeah,
I feel like a bit of a doom feeling, like that's a whole area that's kind of like
yeah,
maybe we can sort of side skip a little bit. But I think that basically overall what I'm saying is they're coming in with a different energy, you
yeah.
know? They
They are
really
coming
are.
in with a different energy and a different mindset. And if you notice how many of those children are actually extremely talented at a very young age, they're doing things that most children would not be capable of doing. Those, okay, so let me explain what I mean by that.
Yeah.
In, say, the 1980s versus now, the children, the infants in the 1980s when they were born, or even 70s or 60s, you had to hold that head, man. You still do, but you had to hold that head of those infants. The infants that are coming in now, they're moving their
Yeah, I've
head
seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
after a month. Do you know? I mean, that is, they're
Yes.
doing things that when you and I were growing up,
Yeah.
very different situation. And I mean, there, so there are things, they're recognizing things that these infants are, and some of them are walking early. Well, quite a few
So
of them are
they're
walking
hitting their
early. They're doing things early.
yeah, they're developmental, they're hitting
Yes,
their developmental, what's the word? We're not in
quicker.
that. Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
quicker stages,
yeah.
keys. They're hitting those developmental stages a lot faster. So that's a
Yes,
really
they
good
are.
sign. I think they have to
Oh,
kind of
it
be,
is.
it's a really good sign. I do wonder if it's a galactic intervention kind of thing. Are these children more and more being sort of taken off world and then brought back? Because it's not easy being here with all the poisons, the water,
No,
um,
it's not.
certain jibby sort of
Yeah,
things, right? You use your own
yeah.
discernment with what I'm saying, right? That's a
Hmm.
lot. That's a lot. So they would be having some intervention, I feel, or maybe they're coming in with let's download it. What is it? Now we're both psychic mediums, so let's get some information on that. Um the impasses of being human is not a practical manner, for many incarnating now are of a higher order of development and consciousness, which is very much needed to shift and move past all the impasses that are on this planet. So exactly what we're saying, right? All the
Hmm.
boundaries and all the things that are being placed on here, you have to be of a higher consciousness to kind of, what's the word here? Um,
Well, I
survive.
literally
To
heard
survive.
20%. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, hang on a minute. I got
Well, you get your
numbers. My,
download. You got a download too. Yeah.
well, all it's not
Yeah.
like what you talked about, but what I was told was 20% of the incoming,
Yeah.
and it's more than that, but it's on the low number. It's 20% of the ones that are coming in are the ones that are going to be. I literally just got told game changer. They're going to be the
Yeah.
game changer, but there are massive others that are still going to help with the ones that are in the 20%. Wow. Okay. That's an interesting way to say it. Game changer.
Well,
I
Terry's
got to
just
write that.
written, my grandson is labeled nonverbal and autistic. He can see other beings, right? Yeah, so they're being
Mm-hmm.
labeled, right? You have, like you said, you've got dyslexia. I've got
Mm-hmm.
definitely ADHD, undiagnosed, but I know doctors and nurses have diagnosed me without, they've said, yes, you're AUDHD or something like that, right? So I
Hmm.
don't take on that label. They want to label all these kids, right? She said, he is telepathic and helped me start up my abilities again. He also can't be programmed by the education system, right? So
Hmm.
they're calling these kids autistic, but they are, like, a lot of people in our community are autistic or ADHD, dyslexia, right? But
Yeah.
we see it as an asset, right? A lot of us
Well,
are thinkers. We're thinkers.
we're
Yeah.
able to go beyond, we're retaining what most folks outgrow over time. And I literally heard somebody talk about, I just posted this recently, today, in fact. Somebody was talking about how it's the theta waves. It's scientifically proven now that children, this is what they were saying, that children who are on the different spectrums, whether it's autistic or ADHD, AUDHD, I
DHD.
don't, yeah,
It's just the one they
or
want to put for me.
or yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
dyslexia or those kind of things.
Yeah.
Um, they're on a different frequency, basically, and
Yeah.
they're staying on that frequency, whereas I guess it's a theta wave frequency or a theta wave in the brain, and they're staying on that theta, whereas uh, those that do not have that, uh, okay, somebody's being a smart aleck and saying, oh, the normies. Oh, good grief. Quote unquote, the normies. Anyway,
Well, that's
um,
that's what we call them.
well, yeah, but
I just want
um,
to. What's a normie look like? I just want to stay in this one dimension. You're a weirdo. I've been called a weirdo
yeah,
all
I
my
mean,
life. You know what I mean? So
yeah, same. Yeah,
if we have a few hang-ups
yeah,
from calling them normies, you know what I mean? It's just because
yeah,
we're
I
like
know. It's
we
just strange to me, but so,
embracing our differences, right? Wizard,
yeah,
just before I say
yeah,
that, wizard's just gone. It just means you have more gamma brain waves, and the gamma brain waves you see outside of the box, you see a bigger picture. We see outside of the
yeah,
box. They're
that's
the
just what I was going to say. Yeah,
it's game over when these kids grow up, right? And I don't want to hang
yeah,
everything on the new generation, but
they
we are
grow
like the
into
first
it.
wave. They grow into
Yeah,
it. They're the
yeah,
paradigm breakers, right? So
yeah,
the pharmacological industry, well, whatever we want to call them, they want to go, oh, all these children are autistic because they're not fitting into this like industrial complex. I don't know what is normal.
controlled spectrum.
Yeah, controlled spectrum, right? Yeah.
It's a control. It's a controlled construct, but it's a controlled spectrum that they're using on this planet. At least, in my opinion, that's an opinion. That's not, But anyway,
We all of this
that's
is
what I know.
opinion. This is all just entertainment purposes, you know what I mean?
Oh
Because
yeah,
I mean, look, they're trying to stop just that pure fact that they're trying to censor and stop everyone from speaking and talking about things. They know
yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
the game is over. I mean, they've done the looking glass tech and they've looked at this timeline and they see us going into a golden age. And I just feel like we just have to think outside of these restricted boxes. This is the third dimension, all the boxes and the Saturnian sort of control system, right? The black boxes
Hmm.
and all of that, that it's a frequency fence that has controlled. And I've heard that term before. I think Ash and I, Dean, first brought it up. That term, the frequency fence. Have you heard that term? Just as
Hmm.
I'm speaking.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's some sort of
Mm-mm.
half channeling and half talking. But yeah, it's like there's been a suppression of on this planet through a frequency to stop people from waking up to other realities, other worlds, other multidimensional realities. But people like us that have just come in, like, you know,
Hmm.
I never fitted in at school. I was, I don't want to go into the sad story, but I had imaginary friends. I would play in the schoolyard in another world, in a different part of my imagination. And a lot of the, it doesn't, I look back and I go, wow, I really didn't play with a lot of kids at lunch. Just, I'd be like, little Chloe, another reality. I look back, it's kind of sad. But at the same time, I think it saved me from being too programmed. I was like, well, I don't fit in. I know that. It's quite obvious I don't fit in. Sad. At the same time, it's like I've got to know that I do belong here, right? Even though I came in with a different energy, right? We are here. We belong. There is a purpose for kids
Mhm.
like us. Maybe we
Yep.
come into our own later on in life, right? Because we have to go through living our life, going through all the emotional, all the set things that we had for ourselves, right? But it's only really
Hmm.
now that I feel much more comfortable. Same with you, like in my own skin a bit more,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I've finally, it's taken a long time.
Yeah.
And just breaking through the patterns of situations. I'm not going to call them what they are, but breaking the patterns of situations and lifelong difficulties. That's how I'm going to word that. It takes time to do that, and I'm 58 now.
Yeah.
It's still mind-boggling to me that I'm that age, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I've got a lot more planned that I want to do, and things that I want to get done, and what kind of
Yeah.
changes are going to take place in order for those kind of dynamics. Um, and now that I'm aware, and we're more than aware of what's going on, where do I want to take that? I mean,
Yeah. It's
that's really
exciting,
where
isn't
it
it?
goes. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And think about
Yeah.
the quote unquote 20%.
Yeah.
They're coming in, they have their entire lives. That is
Yeah.
just,
That's
it's like,
right.
wow, do they register? Will they register in their life? What all of that can mean for them. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about somebody that doesn't have those kind of controls on them. Wow, talk about a mind bender.
I want to. I find that really interesting. Yeah, people who don't have that control on them.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to wonder why, and we can go into a little bit now. In your, I can a little bit of maybe like targeting. We don't have to go into too much, but I've actually, you've helped me out, and I feel like I've
Mm-hmm.
helped you out. I want to hope
Yes,
that
you
I've helped
have.
you out. Yeah,
Yes, you
as
have.
medium, because we have had like, and you got to wonder why. Why would someone like me get a whole bunch of, as the term is, psychotronic
Mm-hmm.
things at them? And not just that, I'm talking, and I feel like it's because of what we talk about is a
Yep.
controversial subject, right? It's not given to
Mm-hmm.
just anyone to talk about. I now understand the term light warrior because you have to be a warrior
Yep.
talking about these subjects publicly because you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you're like a light shining in you and it's very bright and there's you kind of stand out when you talk about these subjects because a lot of people are not talking about them, and at the same time that can attract certain elements, right? Which
Oh
I've
gosh,
had,
yes.
as
Yeah.
yourself, you have had,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But yeah, so, to say that this doesn't exist, right? And like, what's the point of all of us getting targeted so heavily? Like, we're talking,
That's trying to shut
agency.
us up
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's what
because
I mean.
they want to control their narrative, and that's what it
Yeah,
boils down to. They're holding
yeah,
so tight to their controlled narrative, they don't want
yeah.
the real truth coming out as to not only what they're doing, but what we are capable of.
What we are
Because we are,
capable of.
oh yeah,
Yes,
right there. There's
that's
there's
right.
the whole thing in a
Bang.
nutshell. What our human body is
Yeah,
capable of with the kind of soul that we've got, and
yeah,
the chakra system, the
yeah,
frequency energy, tongue twister
yes,
right now, I don't know why, but anyway,
yeah,
and all the different things that we can do with our higher consciousness, and the
yeah,
things that they are doing with higher consciousness, and how they are controlling the higher consciousness of a vast amount of people. That's a thought process for a lot of people that do not
yeah,
understand nor can conceive of what's taking place. So you're looking at a gigantic nutshell that contains a great many subjects, and it all comes down to the control of the narrative.
It's so interesting, right? And I'll ask you whether you've seen this as well. So I had an experience a couple of years ago where I had this white owl in the middle of the day, very unusual, fly out when I was at my daughter's place, and out from the bushes on the balcony, a white owl just flew in front of me, and I was like, "Oh God, what am I going to deal with now? Is this?" I was thinking, "Is someone going to pass?" Because to me, owls can be forewarning of something, right?
Yeah.
So I switched on my clairvoyance, and that's what I do. I switch it on and off. Once you understand how to control it, it's important to be able to have a handle on it, right? So I switched on my clairvoyance. Behind the owl were three like drones in another reality. This reality, it was daytime in this reality. Behind that reality, it was going into the evening, right? And there were three drones that were looking at me. The white owl came out, flew out from the bushes, whether it was an actual animal or it was a vision. It was basically showing me, you're being watched right now, and I could feel it. That was full on targeting that was happening at that moment. I was getting full on psychotronic every single day, psychotronic V2K, and there's a difference, and we can talk about that next.
Oh yes, there is.
All right, but it was like an artificial intelligent overlay. That's what I want to say. So 3 drones looking out to, and this reality, the white owl, but that reality that was overlaid, I think it was showing me how the system, and there was a dimension that was overlaid over the top. I think there's an AI overlay. What's your thoughts?
I've never come across an AI overlay. I do know that there is okay, so what the extraterrestrials have told me directly is that we do not have the cones, CONES, in our eyes, the amount of cones that we need to be able to truly visually see. So what you're talking about, I call it psychic vision.
Clairvoyance.
But and in order to see through that dimensional, and it's also it's a form of higher consciousness. So not only is it psychic, it's a form of higher consciousness to be able to humanly see through what you were seeing through. However, now here's the thing. Because the ETs told me that we humans do not have the amount of cones in our eyes that we need, which is at the very, very back of the eyeball, from what I understand medically from doctors and stuff. If we had those cones, we could actually be able to see them in their, now I'm using this as an example, to see them in their cloaked state. Their frequency, I can't think of what it's called, but their frequency state that they put themselves in, so where we can't see.
Yeah, like a holographic overlay, right? Which is
sort of. It's a form of cloaking, but it's a frequency mode that they use, and if they don't have it, then they use a device that does it for them. But so those of us who have psychic abilities and mediumship abilities combined, because they're not always indicative one of the other, but when you have that, you can usually, like when I was 4 years old, my mom took me into the Smith Tower of downtown Seattle. Now this is the early 1970s. Real early 1970s, and the Smith Tower was the tallest building in Seattle at the time. And we would go, and as I'd walk in with mom, or she'd be carrying me in her arms, I would be seeing full-bodied spirits in what I understood as character outfits, and I thought they were in plays, because mom would always tell me, oh, the Fifth Avenue Theater's not very far away, and I'm like, okay, so then they're theater people. So that's how I thought of them as a child. And then when I was walking more and we would walk into the elevator, and there would be spirits in the elevator that would come and go from the main lobby, just like humans were, but they weren't passing through the humans. They were avoiding the human energy, I think. And I would look up at them, they'd look down at me, and the guys would wink at me. They, to me, were full bodied human beings. I didn't understand the spirit concept back then. But my point being is that I was able to see them because of the psychic mediumship connection. Now, regarding the overlay, the AI overlay, I think many people, I don't think of it as an overlay. What I think of it as is a different section or a different form of dimension that is intersecting with ours. It's a different it's a different interplay. It's like when the hierarchies, I used that example earlier, when the hierarchies opened a portal, came into my apartment, and there were so many of them, I literally blacked out as to what I could psychically see. I mean, it was just really overwhelming. Until the King of the Fae put his very long, skinny fingers, he put the palm of his hand here, and his fingers came way, way, way down onto my chest. And he went to talk to me, and I remember looking up at him. I could see him. I could see exactly what he looked like and all of that, but I couldn't focus on anybody else. But they were coming into our dimension, our realm. And I think what you're describing is in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I think what you're describing is a form of a different dimension that you were seeing, or their version of a cloak. I think that the ones that have that ability on this planet that are doing that kind of targeting, I think that they have the ability to cloak their objects to be able, their drones, and be able to do that kind of thing. The owl, I think, was a psychic vision to let you know and remind you. But at the same time, that's why I don't think of it as an AI. I think of it as two different sections of things that were taking place at the exact same time. One to warn you and let you know, and the other one for you to actually see through that dimension. And to see through the cloak, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. It makes a lot of sense.
What?
So it's kind of like, you know, when you get the black helicopters. I've had continuously.
Oh God, yes.
And black helicopters.
Why do they have to fly so low? Jeez.
Well, the thing is, not just us. There's a lot of activists or people of whatever background who are usually doing sort of psychic works. And even there was one person that came to a group that we go to, right, who had an orgonite, right, and the copper, and she had the helicopters fly over, right. So those helicopters, you got to wonder, like, are they like cloaked and it's something else instead of the helicopter? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, how are they picking up that the frequency is shifting a little bit with this person? Usually it's when I'm doing remote. Most of my work is remote, so I'm working with people
wait a
all
minute.
over, right? Yeah.
You're because many of us individuals are being targeted in specific ways, some different than others. There are so for example, I get what I call government asshats and astral, because I'm not gonna, they drive me nuts, but and many times they're CIA, they're deep state CIA that have the ability and have learned the ability to astral travel. Well, when they come into my home in astral form, many of them are at work. Sometimes some of them are at home in their pajamas, smoking on the whatever. And I can sense them. I can smell them. Sometimes I can see them. And there are other ways. There's
Yeah.
frequency. There's different heat sources that they can, with targeting, so they know where
Yeah.
you're at within the home. They know what you're doing. So there's
Yeah.
different forms of, how do they know? Well, there's many different ways that that can be possible. Many vast different ways that that can be possible. Anything from having your home broken into, never knowing that you had your home broken into, unless you're a psychic medium, never knowing that you had your home broken
Yeah.
into, and they've implanted devices in your alarm clock, radio alarm clock if you've got one, or in a clock, or different or uh, in different locations around your home, through different devices. Or if you're online, I mean, it can be even via your own computer system. Even
Yeah.
I've been down that road. I've been down through all of that garbage, and so there's so many different ways that it can be done. And usually, for me, the black helicopters, they get really low, and it's
Yeah, they do.
absolutely,
Yeah.
they're going below what is legally okay according to the
Yes.
FAA. And I find that fascinating, because even the military won't even do that. Even the
I
regular
think
military, US military, will not do that. And so
I
that
would
is a huge
concur.
deal.
I would concur
Yeah.
because when I was in the US in Tennessee, and I was with TKB and Matt, right?
Yeah.
And I was in
Yeah.
an RV out the back, and I think maybe the night before I'd had the incident or felt the Bigfoot there. And
Mm-hmm.
then or I think it was the day later, the helicopter flew low over the RV with a headlight. I've only had this in the
Yes.
US, right? A headlight, and flew over TKB, Tina, and Matt's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then they both came out, and that was really weird. We've never ever had that before. I think they're very close to, is it Oaks? There's some base near there, but anyway, we
Yeah,
don't need to
military. I
go
was just
into
going to
that.
ask you if there was a military base. Yeah.
There
See,
was
that's
something
very
very
unusual.
close there. It was
Yeah.
very unusual. I've only had the really low one when I was there. With the, just to make sure I didn't miss it before, this is what spirit does to me though. Before it came over, I had my team there. They're always around me, and they said, walk outside, look up. I walked
Yeah.
outside, I looked up, then the helicopter went over with the bright light. Basically, they do it to kind of get me a
Wow.
step ahead of them. That has happened multiple 20, 30, 40 times where
Yeah.
I get told by my spirit team, because it's kind of like I don't know, spiritual warfare, we could call it.
Yeah, it
Basically,
is a form.
I've got the heads up, guys. I was here before you flew over me, basically.
Yep.
And I've had the different people drive past, and I've gone out and
Mm-hmm.
I've looked at
Same.
the car. I get told by my spirit team, look at them, look at them in the eye as they drive past, and
Yep.
smile. And they're kind of like,
Been there, done
what?
that.
I didn't
Yeah, because
expect it.
you're freaking them out, because they're not expecting you to be aware.
So many times, and I'm so grateful for that, because we can mention all of this targeting,
Yep.
right? But we can
Yep.
say, hey, I've got a whole bunch of spirit helpers who are they're not all human. I've got definitely
No.
galactics with me as
Yeah.
well. And it's like,
Yeah, I've got a
well,
couple of
I
ETs.
think
Yeah.
it's hilarious, right? That I just follow though. I get told, walk out, walk up to the window, open the window, look at the two people that were standing near my car. That's a whole other story. The brakes stopped working that time, and I was
Yeah.
pretty much
That's
looked
a
after by an angel to
Yep.
survive. I'm
Been
a bit
there.
apprehensive about talking about all the targeting publicly, because I don't want to give it all the energy, right? I want to give the energy
Yeah,
of like, I'm still
exactly.
alive and I'm still protected. And I love the
And you're
term
still
that
doing. Yep.
I'm still doing it. And here we are talking
Yeah.
about stuff.
Right on.
And we
You're
are
still
talking
alive.
about,
Hello.
yeah, that's right. It's been a
And they
great
try to
chat.
target us in so many different ways. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does happen. It goes on. It's been going on for a long freaking time. And
Yeah.
my question is, so what about turning the cycle back on them? That's where
Yes.
my question is. And then it's like, oh, well, okay, I don't like this. Well, gee, think about how we feel.
Well, I
So,
think it's come
it gets
he's come
interesting.
Well, it's coming back to all those little incidents that I said, right? Don't
Yeah,
doubt yourself, right? Doubting is
exactly.
the biggest thing when you're a medium and a psychic. It's like you doubt yourself and then you say the wrong thing. But if you said the first thing that
Hmm.
you heard or thought, it's usually 100% correct. And it's like
Yep.
trusting yourself. I trust myself
Yeah.
and my guides implicitly when they say I could feel it, like go outside, have a look,
Hmm.
you're protected
Yep.
by spirit, you know,
Yep.
and always get you're stronger than you think you are, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You get
I've
that
gotten
one?
that from, yep, I get that one all the time.
Yeah.
It's been probably 3 weeks since I've heard it, but yeah, I usually get it
Yeah.
at least twice a week, except for right now, which is fine because there's so much going on right now. I'm like, wow, okay. So they're like, we know you're okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just tired of certain things, but it
Hi,
is what it is. And
Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee's just come in. I was just talking about you on the when I was in Tennessee, right? I think missing guys talk. Jason's talking about Bigfoot body on the news. I'm not sure what that's about.
oh, I do.
Um,
That's
oh,
there's a gentleman who
yeah,
I think last week or 2 weeks ago where he made public that they found a dead Sasquatch body, and his
yeah.
which is all I mean it's all fine and good. Well, it's not fine and good, but it's I mean on one level it is, on another level it's not. But point being is that he made it public. I only just found out today that he took it to a state fair, and they had thousands of people walk by it because they managed to get it stuffed. I don't remember what that's called when you stuff animals. And they
Taxidermy. Yeah,
taxidermy. Thank you.
yeah,
They got it taxidermied. They saved what did he say? 2 or 3 of its organs. They got it tested, and that it was 40 something percent human, and the other percentage, 50 some odd percentage of Neanderthal. And he mentioned Jane Goodall talking about that, and because
yeah.
he was really heavily interviewed. But the one thing that he is talking about is absolutely balls out BS, crazy. It's not crazy. It is actual lie. It's irritates me no end. He's talking about the fact that Sasquatch they're individuals, they do not make families. It's this and it's that. And I'm like, dude, you're talking out your
What? Yeah,
but that
that's
because
BS. Yeah,
that's a full on lie. You don't know diddly squat. And
yeah,
so his information about the Sasquatch and how he had to go in and secretly get the testing results done because of how the labs are. It was really interesting about that. And the genetics of it. So all of that, there's science evidence to that, but the question
yeah,
becomes, how valid is this guy in the
yeah.
sense of he's supposedly in the cryptid not industry, in the cryptid community. I've never heard of him until
Right. So that,
a couple of weeks ago, last week or a couple of weeks ago.
yeah,
But I mean, anybody that has dealt with any kind of Sasquatch subject matter, you will
yeah.
learn and you will know that yes, they do create families.
They do.
They're known as a clan, um,
Yes.
and it gets very involved in stuff. So, yeah, be careful with this guy's information. The scientific evidence. I mean, they got the
Yeah.
money together to do the scientific evidence, and all of that. The fact that he's taking this across the United States, cross country through different um, state fairs and things like that, has me a little on the concerned side, but
Mm,
I get why they're doing it because of how government is. In the United States, there's literally a law against hunting Sasquatch. Okay, excuse me, I need to
yeah.
clarify that. In
Yeah.
Washington State, in Whatcom County, in Washington State, there is a law to where you cannot unalive a Sasquatch. And so it's literally illegal. Now, in Florida, a number of years ago, there was a certain U.S. congressperson, a congressman, who literally was coming out and talking about hunting Sasquatch and paying so many thousands of dollars and blah blah blah. And so that got people riled up, both in the Sasquatch Bigfoot community, as well as in the scientific community, as well as within different Congress members. And then all of a sudden, all the information just died away. It's not talked about anymore. And that was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. It was, I think, right after 2020. Let's put it that way.
So Tennessee, Kentucky's Bigfoot. I stayed with him and his
certain
family
counties.
and Matt.
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, certain counties in Washington and Colorado. Oklahoma put a bounty on them. So when I was telepathing with the Sasquatch, I have a really close relationship with the Sasquatch family that's on TKB and Matt's property, right? Because it's come to me.
Same with
many times. Over the last couple of years, it's come to me, right? And talked and spoken. I've done like 2-hour sessions with these Sasquatch, right? Through telepathy. So they said that the certain factions in Gov, in our structure, that do actually go out to get them, because there's abilities that they have that they don't want the humans having anything to do with them, because they're scared that we will switch on our natural abilities to be able to bilocate, right?
Yes.
They're worried that they will
I already bilocate.
teach us, and also that they use them, they get them as little, from what I can see, this is just my information, right, that I can see, is that they get them as, they can take them as little children Bigfoot, right? And they use some sort of frequency to capture them and entrap them, right? And then they use them for militaristic purposes and train them up. And, you know, Sasquatch, there's a guy up in Canada who speaks to them. I'm so fascinated. I can't remember his name. But it's there's in Ontario, maybe. Yeah.
Robin Haynes, she's on the East Coast of the United States. She talks daily with them. I mean, they've been on and off her property. So Robin Haynes is very well known. Haynes is her last name. She is on Facebook. But anyway, and she's on another podcast that's also podcast radio, terrestrial radio, and that kind of thing. So, but the thing of it is so I've been in contact since 2018, and hardcore since 2019. I've been in contact with the Washington State Sasquatch clans up at Mount Baker, and then there's a Sasquatch clan that has a representative that I'm calling him a representative. I don't know what else to call him, in California, and they're in oh God, which mountains? I can't think of the name of the mountains right now. And they give information as well. And when I travel between, which isn't very often anymore, but when I travel between Washington State and Oregon, especially along the coastline, I get Sasquatch talking to me the entire. So I become a passenger in the seat, right? I'm a passenger in the car, and I get Sasquatch will pass by this long section of road, and I'll start hearing Sasquatch talking to me. Oh, Nikki, you gotta come back! Please come back, and we want to have a conversation with you. And then another group. Oh, they're very loving and caring and kind. The energy is just phenomenal. And whenever I get out of the Seattle area and get into within the mountain range, they are like, "You got to come talk to us." I'm like, "Yes, dear." And
I think
they're a
that's
matriarchal
really
clan.
special.
They're
Yeah.
wonderful. Just
Absolutely. The
wonderful people.
matriarchal would make a lot of sense, right? And they
Yeah.
are. So once you have that connection with them, right? And I've talked
Yeah.
about this with Tennessee, Kentucky as well. They travel in families too. So even
Yes, they do.
if your grandfather has had a connection with the Bigfoot, like
It
Tennessee's
trickles
family,
down.
it trickles down and they will always
Yep.
have that connection. And they
Yep.
live for hundreds of years as well.
Yes, they do.
They live for hundreds of years. And what the person
Yes.
that I was thinking of, I've got to refer, I was looking through my Facebook, it's Mike Patterson, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Incredible, and has actually recorded the audio footage of the Bigfoot. Oh, Mike, like saying his name. They actually can
Have you
speak. Like,
have you heard the Sierra sounds with oh no, now I can't think of his name. Oh my word.
well,
Yeah,
there's a
listen
lot.
to the 1970s Sierra sounds. Go Google it and you'll find I can't think of his name right now. I
Well,
can picture him, just
what
can't
the
think of his name.
Sasquatch want to do, they actually want to come forward and show themselves more. You're noticing now because our dimension is lifting, right? The Sasquatch is showing up in more films. They're coming out. They want to actually, as much as what our Govy people, there's certain sections that have taken them and kidnapped them and used them for their own nefarious purposes. They're still so unconditionally loving enough to want to come out and show themselves and try and still connect to us. Incredible, right?
Yeah, that is
It blows my
incredible.
mind.
But that's different than what I know regarding Sasquatch wanting to come out. That's the ones that I know, they have no interest in that.
Yeah.
But it fascinates me as to how I'm going to see if I can show this. Can you see that?
Yes. What is that? A Bigfoot?
It's a Sasquatch. It's on a
On the
mug.
side of a cup. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, does he feel objectified? He's on a
Oh, I
mug.
don't know.
It's cute though. I like
It's
it.
one of my favorite things. I don't use it as a drinking
As a
mug
mug.
because
No.
so I use
It's
it for all
beautiful.
my I
Yeah.
use it for all of my highlighters
Oh, okay.
because this
Tennessee's just saying the Sierra sounds are audio recordings made by Ron Moorhead and Al Berry,
Moorhead. Thank you.
allegedly capturing Bigfoot vocalization in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Don't you just love our people in the comments? They know what they're talking about,
Yeah, they do.
We're all here. We're all, I feel, under the same banner, right? Is to help the natural world connect to our world through telepathy, because the dimensions, I feel like the frequency fence is going to show as it's lifting
it's
is
going to be different.
more multi-dimensions. And because Sasquatch can go into many different dimensions and many different portals onto different planets, they don't need UFOs. They go, okay, we're going to go to some, moon of Saturn through this portal because we need whatever the objectives are,
Yeah. Well, and the Sasquatch in the Mount Baker clan and in the California through Oregon and California, the ones that I know, they don't want anything to do with the extraterrestrials whatsoever. And I know that from firsthand experience because back in 2018, I got told that I got psychically told you're going to be abducted. This is when I was on the UFOI team. Your entire team is going to be abducted. Well, at the time, half of our team for that summer was going to go to Mount Baker, and the other half was going to go to Isetti Ranch, James Gilliland's Isetti Ranch in southern Washington. Trout
Lake.
Trout Lake. Thank you. I couldn't think. Yeah, Trout Lake, and in the Trout Lake area of Mount Adams, and so, and they did. The ones at James Gilliland's ranch, they all got abducted, and the ones that went to Mount Baker, I put out a psychic, although I didn't know it was a psychic scream. I literally screamed, "Oh my God, we're gonna need help!" or however I worded it, and within seconds to a minute and a half, if that, I got told, we will help you. We will stop that from happening. And I'm like, and who are you? Nikki, you're one of us. I'm like, what do you mean I'm one of you? And so I got told, and that's when I found out that I started communicating with Sasquatch, mind speaking. And they literally, by the time we were up at going into the Mount Baker area, driving into the Mount Baker area, I had psychic connection with numerous different Sasquatches, and from this one specific clan, and I got told, every person that is coming up here is being protected. And I went, how? And then they started showing me how they were doing it. They knew the day, and they literally were opening portals into the person's not home environment, but outside their vehicle, so that when they would follow, they would know what vehicle the team member was in. And they did this with every member that went up there. And I was just blown away by how they went about doing this. And they followed them. They literally opened portals and watched the vehicle go by, and they'd make sure that other quote unquote team members, as I remember saying how it was said to me, or family members in other Sasquatch clans, they did a relay with every person on that team member going up to Mount Baker. I was so stunned by how they went about doing this. And they made sure, and sure as we had an ET ship hover over us. Dave Mason was there at the time. He was with all his scientific equipment and the great big telescopes and all the night goggles that he redid and he bought original night goggles, and then he altered them in major ways. And so he's 6 feet away from me, standing 6 feet to my left, and I say, Dave, did you? Oh, he goes, well, it's just the night sky, Nikki. Well, what had happened is a gigantic mothership came over, and I'm seeing it because they blocked out the night sky. And they blacked out the entire night sky in this one section. And I'm looking up at trees going, oh my God, how far away from the tips of the trees is the bottom of this ship? And oh my God, Dave, you got to look up. He's like, it's just the night sky, Nikki. Well, as he's saying, it's just the night sky, they had just gotten done cloaking the entire ship and reflecting the night sky on the bottom of the ship. And I went, son of a And that night, they tried to abduct us, and they couldn't. And the following morning, we were leaving. Who I was with, we were leaving. And so I had just packed up my gear into the car, and somebody else was getting their stuff into the car. And I walked out into the front yard of this area, still right next to that street where I'd been standing the night before, and hobbling out there because, I was walking with my cane at that time. And I'm looking around, and the next thing I know, and I'm not saying anything, and everybody's around, they're all gearing up, getting their stuff together to pack up into their cars and everything. Nobody's saying anything. They're all just out walking around, right? Getting their stuff together. And the next thing I know, I go to take a step, I can't move. And I got put into what I call is a time dilation bubble. And in that time dilation bubble is where the extraterrestrials started doing surgery on my knee right then and there on the spot, and telling me, because that was the year that we had really, really bad mosquitoes. And they were gigantic mosquitoes. Oh God, it was bad that year. And you literally hear mosquitoes, and all I could do was move my eyes, and I'm looking down, and you can see mosquitoes bouncing off of this barrier type of thing that was surrounding me, and I'm getting told, bzz, bzz, bzz. It's just mosquitoes, Nikki. Bzz, bzz. And I'm like, you're telling me it's mosquitoes. Why would you be talking to, I kind of lost my ever loving, I wasn't very nice verbally in my head because they were being telepathic with me.
Well, they've
Oh,
violated a boundary by like stopping you, putting you into a time bubble. It's like, hang on,
yes.
did I sign up to this? And who are you? Were they the
Oh, a
Greys?
pest. I was pissed off. Oh, I know who it was, but I'm not going into all of that right now. But the
Okay.
point of it is because I start getting angry, and I don't want that anger level right now. You know what I'm saying?
It's a great story.
So
yeah.
yeah, and so I get put into this time dilation bubble. They're working on me. I'm getting told they're trying to make it sound like a mosquito, and I'm like, oh, knock it off. And I say a bunch of expletives, and I'm getting angry. Oh, you should really calm down, Nikki. And I'm like, I made some major like FU expletives and a bunch of other things, and I was not a happy camper.
What do you think?
And everybody else was walking around me. They didn't pay any attention, and I was literally in mid-step.
What do you think the objective was? Like to do that? Yeah.
Well, I was supposed to be abducted, and they were supposed to do some kind of surgery on my knee, my left knee, in which I had this horrible mark on it afterwards for weeks. I don't know. I just know that they drilled into my bone, and I could feel it. And I'm like, if you're gonna that was another one I got really pissy about. I literally said you could have bothered to anesthetize it. You know, you could have numbed me up instead of, because I was screaming in my head in pain at one point because I could hear and feel some kind of, it literally went into the bone, into the top bone, just, you know, where the kneecap is. And you've got, it's like, reminded me of a dental drill is what it reminded me of. And
I'm getting too much of the visceral kind of.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
Let's not get into it.
I forgot. Sorry.
It sounds like
but they kept me grounded.
It strangely sounds like a positive intervention because they're actually helping.
Oh, yes, it was. They kept me on the
helping you. Yeah.
The Sasquatch kept me grounded. They would not leave it, and it took all of them. That's the thing that I found out. It took all of a specific clan of not extraterrestrials, of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
To keep my feet firmly planted on the ground, and I could feel the energy in my feet, and I don't know how else to explain that. I don't know how to explain the kind of energy that I've never been able to explain it. The kind of energy that I felt from my feet. My feet weren't burning, but it was like, I don't know how else to explain it. It's like tree roots that go really far down into the ground. That is what my energy felt like from my feet straight. And I could feel, I wasn't just, it was somebody had taken every essence, every energy, every frequency of me and grounded me into that earth to where I wasn't going nowhere. And I think it shocked and surprised the ETs. I think they were like, why can't we get her? And I know I could hear different click. Well, I don't know what to call it. It's like a clicking, but it wasn't clicking. It's like they were using device of some kind, and I think they were trying to get me up so that they could then cloak me and then get me up onto craft. And Sasquatch wasn't having it, man. I mean, they made sure I stayed firmly planted. Yes, they did.
It sounds like they protected you.
They don't like the ETs. This specific clan and the surrounding mountain ones, they don't like the extraterrestrials.
Just as you're speaking, what it's come to me, I'm flashing back to when I talked about the helicopters, especially when they came over. TKB's in the chat, funnily enough, over the RV, right? That could be a cloaking for certain factions, the ETs that work with our faction of government, right? It's their way of cloaking. So we're seeing a helicopter, right? But it could be a craft. Tell me
It's
if I'm
possible.
wrong. Yeah.
It's possible, but I don't know if that's real. I mean, I've learned that numerous different things are very sorry, I'm finding that I'm talking and I need my hands to be doing something. So I got this thing with
Yeah.
this. So anyway,
Stimming. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't even realize that, but it apparently this has triggered something in me. So anyway, um yeah, it's very possible, but I don't know if that's true or not. Now, what I know, the ship that I saw was what I know as a consortium ship. They weren't part of the SSP. It
Yeah.
was a rectangular ship. It was part of the hybridization program as I know it, but I've never known them to do this kind of situation on me before. I've had surgery before where they've done surgery on my throat because it was right after 20 it was I'm just going to put it this way. It was right after 2020, let's put it there.
Yeah.
And I had lost like 60, 70 pounds at that point. Well, I was starting to gain, I think I'd gained like 10 or 15 pounds back because everybody, you weren't couldn't be in the exercise room and you couldn't this and you couldn't that and blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
so they registered that something was going on with my sleep apnea. And in doing so, they took me on board and they literally did surgery. Tug of war with Nikki. Yeah, exactly. It was tug of war with Nikki. Um,
Yeah.
but they took me on board craft and they opened up my throat and did surgery on my throat. They enlarged my throat. I have half of my throat has human tissue and the left half of my throat is enlarged and has they basically did it has ET mesh. And I am here to tell you when they did that, and I got told that they did that to save my life, and I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I got told that they opened up my leftestation tube and made it wider because I was having all kinds of mucus issues and it was triggering a bunch of problems. And so they did all of this. When I got back, they literally had two extraterrestrials, 7 foot tall. I call them the tall whites. They're not the original tall whites. They're 7 foot tall grays that are so pasty white they look like I call them tall white, but they're actually a gray. And the two of them stayed with me for quite some time because they told me, you cannot eat anything, Nikki. And they were like, you, and I was so out of it at the time. They had whatever they had drugged me with. And I'm looking at my throat. I remember saying, I got it. Cause they had just brought me back and laid me on my bed. And I'm like, I gotta pee. Yeah, I gotta get it. And they're like, okay, let's get you up. And they helped get me up. I got out of bed and I got to the bathroom. And as I'm in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, I got one to the left of me and one kind of off to the right by the counter. And they're talking to me, telling me, trying to get me to remember and retain the memory of everything that I need to do to take care of myself. Drink plenty of water, drink only water for the next 12 hours, Nikki. And then there were a number of other things. Don't eat solids. You can make your protein, because they knew I was making protein smoothies and doing different things at the time. And they were like, you can make your smoothies, you can do that kind of thing, but no solid foods for at least a minimum of 12 hours. And I was like, oh, okay. And my throat, oh my God. And that's when I realized the back part of my tongue was missing. They had basically done a section of sleep apnea, what is known in the medical world now is a sleep apnea surgery. And so they had removed a very back section of my tongue, as well as done all of this surgery and this mesh. And oh man. And so if I get sick now, well, this was years ago. So now if I get sick, which doesn't happen very often, but when I do, this side usually doesn't hurt. This left side usually doesn't hurt. It's the human side. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, that's bizarre.
So
So,
it sounds like your interventions and it's sort of
so you get the
I feel
good
like
with the bad.
yeah, it's the good and the bad. Your experience at the hybridization program. So you've had
Yeah.
alien babies. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a surrogate mom to over 30 hybrid children, ET human hybrid children, and let me tell you,
So
to say that
it
many,
sounds like it's
it's
in their
a
best
mind bender.
interest. It's in their best
Yeah,
interest to look after you, right? But it's
yeah,
sort of cluing into what we talked about before, that there's us as humans, like some of us are being used sort of in this like dimensional sort of wars, or
yeah.
you know what I'm getting at?
I
Yeah.
know exactly where you're going with that. Yeah,
So
we are in a lot of ways.
yeah, but at the same time that they're helping you. So back in the sort of 80s, 90s, even the 70s, like you'd always have
Hmm.
the interventions to be quite like
Dramatic.
traumatizing, dramatic,
Yeah,
and torturing. The
yeah.
guys took me and they, stuck something up the back of my,
No,
nose
yeah,
and the brain. I'm thinking,
yep.
I haven't had that sort of experience. I've only ever had interventions that have been positive and for my benefit.
Hmm.
I, I don't
I've
have
had
to.
both good and bad.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's why I'm called an ET abductee, because
Yeah,
abductee has connotations of negativity, and then I'm a contactee where you have situation. I don't know what is with the. I gotta. Okay, so sorry, it's bugging the crud out of me at the moment. Why I've got to do this anyway. Um,
yeah,
so you've got the that is a negative, and then the positive is contactee, and then the all-encompassing is experiencer. That's the word that is the experiencer encompasses both of them.
yeah.
And so there's a real definition in ufology as to what each word means and how it gets really convoluted in the ufology industry and the ufology community sometimes. So,
Yeah, it's
but
interesting
yeah,
that it's an industry now, you know.
oh, it is. It is. It's ridiculous that it's an industry, but that's
Yeah,
exactly what it is, and the governments have made it that way. So,
right. Sort of at the same time, people are waking up to a certain thing,
yeah,
but they don't want
they are.
everyone knowing everything about all of it, you
Exactly.
know. We're kind of putting a positive spin on it. Like there are
Yeah, in the
interventions that
grand
are
scheme.
that are
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, it's to
Yep.
benefit humans. But yeah, I think there's been this tug of war over Earth and the battle of Earth. That's how I feel. And we're right in
Yeah.
it now, you know. I think it used to be more of a tug of war because they were trying to control the timeline. Whereas now it's like the timeline is positive. But I know everyone wants to jump to a golden timeline, but we're right in it. We're in this sort of factions and
Yeah.
dimensions changing and going up and down. Anyway, so thanks for
It,
having a chat with me today. I think we'll
yeah.
sort of round it up because we've been chatting for about 2 hours. Isn't that
Yeah. I
interesting?
see that.
Sometimes I'll just go for like 1 hour, no problems. But Jason's actually put your YouTube up and I'll just get
Restore
that.
belief with Nikki.
Yeah, so I'll just put that up. He actually put it up earlier. I'll just try and go through the comments. Here we go. Thanks, Jason, for that. I'll just put that up for you. So
Yes. Thank you.
that's how you can get Nikki, restore belief with Nikki. And you talk about
Hmm.
all sorts of things.
Oh my. Yeah. Everything under
Yeah,
the sun we talk about.
yeah, which
And I
is
can be,
important.
yeah, and I can be emailed at restorebelief2022@gmail.com. So that's how you can contact me.
Okay,
A number of
perfect.
other ways too, but that's all in that's you go to Restore
Yeah,
Belief with Nikki, and that will give you
yeah.
a lot of links to where I'm at. So
And thank you so much. Actually, it was the Spirit World who actually told me, you need to get
yeah,
Nikki on to do like an interview. They're my allocating team,
yeah,
because I've
I hear
been
you.
I'm not you. I do a different sort of style with the Whimsical Wednesdays. I'll do the just be me, and I'm telepathing, or I'm doing oracles. But now
Mm-hmm.
think I've been sort of called to actually interview people so we can talk about all of this, because
Yep,
we are a part of like changing the paradigm and through
we
communicating
are.
and talking. You know what I mean? Okay,
Yeah,
thanks everyone for turning up, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you,
sounds
everyone.
good.
Have a really good day. See you later.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.